What happens when the very religion that raised you teaches you to hate who you are? And what if breaking a sacred law from that system means being branded for death, but you still choose to risk everything to save them regardless? Welcome back to World Building Wednesday, Peers, Queers, and Fabulous Beards. Today I am telling you the story of Pavo Dinolo, a Tom whose journey from shame to self-acceptance becomes something much larger than himself. Pavo's story begins in Sinna, a coastal town where the shame runs deeper than the tides. Born outside of marriage, his very existence was considered a stain on his family's reputation. When his parents' relationship crumbled under the weight of cultural expectations and religious judgment, his father tried to raise him alone. But eventually, even that wasn't enough. His grandparents stepped in and made their choice. They sent him away to St. Clement's boarding school, deciding his spirited nature had no place in their carefully constructed world. At boarding school, something happened that should have been met with protection and justice. Instead, when Pavo needed support most, he was blamed. The Fold's twisted logic turned his trauma into shame, labeling him as a deviant and as corrupted. His own family refused to house him during his corrective education, abandoning him to Father Fritz's care for months of psychological conditioning designed to break him down and rebuild him into their image of what is acceptable. The system that should have protected a child instead taught him that his very existence was wrong, and what happened to him was his fault. But boarding school gave him one gift, Ziggy. Their friendship became his anchor in a sea of judgment and self-doubt. When they left school, they enlisted together, two young Toms determined to prove their worth through service. In the military, Pavo found purpose, climbed the ranks through sheer determination, and their bond deepened into something unbreakable, the kind of loyalty forged in shared struggle and mutual understanding. Their dedication earned them knighthood under Queen Angelina, a recognition that should have felt like redemption. But for Pavo, it wasn't enough. The Dawn Guard called to him, representing everything he had been denied: respect, belonging, and the chance to protect something sacred. When he and Ziggy passed the grueling examination to become guardians of the sun, the most revered of the divine beasts, it felt like he had finally found his place in a world that had spent so long rejecting him. Then the unthinkable happened. The sun was stolen, and in one devastating moment, everything Pavo had fought to achieve crumbled. But before his own trial for exile, he overheard something. Lord Melegardos, speaking to Queen Angelina about heretical knowledge, claiming a way to replace the sun itself. When Pavo faced his judgment and received the temporal mark branded on his face, a violent symbol that marks him for death and a bounty on his head, he made a choice. Exiled and hunted, he would seek out Melegardos and join this impossible quest. That is Pavo Dinolo's story. A Tom marked for death, choosing to risk everything to save a kingdom that branded him as a heretic. And that cruel irony? He has to leave Emmerich to find a new son, but returning home with it could mean his execution. If you want to see how this impossible journey unfolds, you can follow Pavo's full adventure in my comic, Starfish Lovers. I'll share a link in the description. Next week, we'll explore the Fold itself, and you'll understand the true horror of the system that created this impossible choice. As always, make room, break the mold, and keep going.